Hi there, I am Shannon and this is Shannon Talks Yarn. Thank you for joining me. I hope you're ready to talk about some yarn today. Do you remember when I got these skeins of Super Saver Ombre for just $4? I made a video and it turns out it's the most popular video on my channel. Some of you actually got some too, but now what do we do with them? The first Super Saver Ombre project we are talking about today is a Hexagon cardigan. So if you haven't heard of this, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of footage in right here. I just did a quick Google Images search and this is what it brought me up here as. And you can see the variety of the colors people have chosen for this, the different types of yarn, but you can see how fun they are, what a cool geometric shape they have. Now that you have a little bit of context as to what I'm talking about, I want to share with you why I chose this as one of the perfect patterns for Super Saver Ombre yarn. I am going to start out by holding up just half of my cardigan. I've got it folded in half right here. This is the color Mocha. And for this particular project, I used 2 skeins of Mocha. I used one for each panel. And as you can see, I did not worry too much about the ombre patterns not matching up because if you remember back in that footage from Google Images, a lot of them are really, really crazy colors, patterns. And since this yarn, the ombre on it is so great, it's the effect of the ombre and the color changes are so soft. I thought this would show a lot more visual interest by not being matchy-matchy, and it would still be fun and playful like the other ones. So my first inclination was to use a brown to outline mine. And of course, you could definitely just continue to do ombre. For mine, I am a size like large, extra large, and these cardigans are supposed to be a bit oversized. So again, I used 1 skein for each panel, and then I did use a little bit of a skein of blue to outline it all and to sew them together. So you could definitely, especially if you are a smaller size, just get by with 2 skeins. And if you're making this for a child or toddler, you could definitely just use 1. But the ombre, I thought, was so beautiful to really show the geometric design of this pattern. I really love it. And it was fun to do and to watch the gradation change on it. But like I said, it's still kind of got that soft feel to it. Um, it's really the perfect amount of yarn and perfect to making these beautiful geometric shapes. There was a lot of tutorials out there, and really all you need to know is how to make a hexagon granny square, basically, granny hexagon. I deliberately did not watch any of the videos that were featuring cardigans on the thumbnail that looked like what I planned on doing. Not necessarily color-wise, but like when you could tell it was like a bulky Super Saver type of yarn. I watched Krista from the Secret Yarnery. She did one, but she's using a totally different type of yarn, and hers is very long. It was a much bigger yarn and very, very drapey, but she did, give the basics of how to make the hexagon. So all you really need to know is how to make that hexagon, and then you just have to fold it up and sew up the edges. So it is super, super easy as far as that goes. Now, what I did with mine is I had seen either in a video or on one of the, I don't know if it was Lion Brand or where I saw it, but one particular yarn, I saw the colorway was country blue. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is, definitely an 80s throwback. But I was like, I know I've got some of that. And I totally did in my stash. So it was a Super Saver that I had thrifted. And the original tag from Walmart says $1.97. And it says things on the label that are indicative of a vintage, like how it says moth proof, shrink proof, color fast. You know, those are things we really can just take for granted and don't think about. So the fact that they're on there. And then when I opened it, there was a black and white pattern here for a crochet chevron Afghan. And I think it might be too dark to really show up on there. But at the bottom, it says copyright Coates and Clark 1987. I don't know if you can see that, but so I'm assuming this yarn was made in 1987 or within a couple years of that based on the copyright. But I thought that the country blue was just a really great contrast. Like I said earlier, I had thought about doing a brown or a cream. And maybe if I was making this for myself, I would probably want it to be a little more subtle, because on me, I like things a little bit more subtle. But I was making this for a little bit younger person, and it seems to be a lot trendier to have it, you know, full of a little more contrast. So this sweater is kind of heavy when you're doing it with the Super Saver. I am not gonna lie. And the other thing I found is that you want to definitely make sure that you make your neck hole small enough, so that the first time I sewed it was I thought would fit me, without trying it on. My neck hole was like all the way out here to almost falling off my shoulders. So definitely try on as you go, and don't be afraid to sew it smaller. So after I got my brown panels done, I went ahead and did one row of the country blue around everything. At this point, I folded it into the T sections, half T's, I guess you would say. And at that point, I went ahead and sewed up the sleeve seam. So you can see that is a little bit thicker right there. I did that on both sides. And second step was I went ahead and added just a little bit more length to the sleeves. So I just added 3 more rows of my clusters and then 1 row of a single crochet. And I like how it kind of gives it a little more of like a kimono sleeve look to it. To me, it just seems a little bit more fun and seems a little more planned and slightly less boxy, even though it's still pretty boxy. So the next step that I did was I started right up here at my corner, and I went down and did double crochets, so in every single loop. So even the loop that's in between the clusters right there. So I just did 1 double crochet all the way down, all the way around the back side. When you get to the center, you might have to improvise just a smidge there just to make sure you get them all in, but it helps even it out, because prior to putting this outline row, it will look a little bit uneven right there. So I kept going around, and then in the corners, I added 3 extra double crochet right there in the space, but I made sure to get one in the loops right before and right after. So my corner is basically 5 double crochets, and I did that on both corners, of course. And then I went ahead, went right back up the other side, and went ahead and stopped right up here. The next step I did was I wanted to reinforce this neckline just a little bit, because this is going to get, you know, a lot of that weight of the draping on it. So I went ahead and just started at my end point and went ahead and single crocheted all the way around. So you could, if you wanted to, add more. I would assume. I did not feel the need to. But I am definitely happy with how the result is and how it came out. So what I'd like to do is just show you a little bit, because it's, number one, it's kind of hard to get it in the frame of the camera. and it kind of just looks like I'm holding up a blanket. So I went ahead and I put together a few different looks that I thought this cardigan would go great with. So I'm calling this look the Relaxed Classic because I'm pairing the Hexagon cardi with a pair of what they call mom jeans, just the relaxed, high-waisted, lighter wash jeans with a very classic white t-shirt, some darker blue booties, a leather fanny pack, and some aviator sunglasses. Just an all-around classic look. You guys, this was about my favorite dress in the mid-90s, and that's why I'm calling this the sporty vintage look, because I'm pairing the Hexagon cardi with a very simple, I think it's called a sheath dress, or shift dress, I'm not sure. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. But I'm pairing it with some Converse, a very simple hobo-style bag, and a bucket hat, all in neutral colors. The free spirit look is one that I think is super comfortable, but you could totally wear out and about running errands or whatever, because I've got some tapered joggers and I'm pairing that with a very high neck tank top. But I've got some accessories that dress it up a little bit more with some strappy leather sandals, a strappy leather bracelet, and a cute crossbody bag. And just to show you how versatile I think the Hexagon cardi is, the final look here is just a cozy Western-inspired look where I've got, I think they call it like a tiered prairie skirt, paired with just a nice linen or cotton top, a button-down, and then I paired it with some Western accessories, some nice cowgirl boots, leather cuff bracelet, and some beautiful leather earrings. I figured I might as well put this next item on because it probably wouldn't look quite as good just laying there or me holding it up. But if you are like me and you enjoyed the, I believe it was Netflix series Wednesday based on the Addams Family series that I enjoyed in the 90s, and also the original ones in syndication when I was a child. If you are unfamiliar with the show, Wednesday Addams' roommate is a very colorful, preppy crocheter. And some of these images are from the show, and some of these are actually from just other people who have done crochet tutorials about it. Anyway, if you are like me and watched the Wednesday series and enjoyed it, you will recognize this is my nod to the Enid snood. And I absolutely loved this colorway. So this is hot sauce in, of course, Red Heart Super Saver. And it has got just the most beautiful orangey pink and orange variation to it. So I absolutely, absolutely love it. I think that there are so many Enid snoods out there, and some of them aren't super practical. So you'll notice if you are a fan of the show, my snood does not have any tassels on it, just because I thought that really wasn't practical for daily life, or maybe like, I mean, wear what you want, but as a woman that's close to 50, I thought, I think I'll go without the tassels. But this I feel like I could wear in numerous ways, and I will show you those in a little bit. So let me go ahead and slip out of this and I will show you how I made it. I went ahead and got rid of my cardigan too while I was at it. I thought I was going to be cold filming up in this room. It's the end of February right now, and this is my spare room, and I thought it was going to be chilly, so I put the cardigan on, but I don't think I need it. So anyway, let's get back to this snood. So I didn't have any exact measurements when starting out to make this, but I knew I wanted to use most of my skein. And I also knew, since I was, somewhat mimicking the one from the TV show, I did want it to be pretty big and loose and drapey and definitely larger than a cowl. So this did use up most of the entire skein. So I did a granny ripple on this, and it's basically a chevron. You can kind of see that on my seam right there. Actually, I think I should be holding it more accurately. Yes, in that direction. So you can see where I seamed both sides together there. And since it's the ombre yarn, you know, of course, is a little bit pink. So it's not a seamless transition. If that would bother you, you might need two skeins just to kind of match it up if you wanted, but I really don't think that is remotely a problem at all. I just positioned it like down in front here and you couldn't really see it at all. I did try it once on top and I didn't care for the seam on top, but by putting it down and then kind of just like pulling it to fold it over, you really couldn't see it at all. But this is 19 clusters across, if that gives you kind of a good estimate. It's about 24 inches across. And you know, of course, this will depend on your tension and everything else. And I did 38 rows in length before I went ahead and seamed it together. The reason it is 38 rows is, like I said, I was trying to use as much of my yarn as I could, and I knew I wasn't going to make it down one more time and still be able to do my seam. So this is definitely a beginner level project, super easy. Really, you only need to know how to chain and to double crochet to make those clusters. And you can definitely make this project. So I put together just a couple simple looks if you were maybe having trouble visualizing how you would wear this. The first look here, I wanted to pair this with a real like preppy pea coat, but I found this adorable pink one and also a pink and orange bag that would go great with this, but I can honestly even picture this over a very cute jean jacket. I think that would also look adorable, but this is called Colorful and Carefree. The second look I have gone with, I wanted more like pops of that pink color. And to be honest, this picture looks a little more pink than I'd like it to compared to the snood. But I just thought it was a great way to showcase how you could throw it over a button up top if it's spring and you just want a little more protection from the wind or the cold weather. In this very last one, I say warm up to pink because this lady here has just a jogging set, and you'll notice the top to it doesn't have a hood, so something like this would be great to throw on over it. The third and final Super Saver Ombre project that I have for you today is this beautiful mandala vest. I absolutely love it, and this particular project is done in deep teal. So let me go ahead and get started telling you about it. So this creator, her name is Emmy, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know how to pronounce her channel name, but she has a fantastic channel. I love it. She's a great resource, and this is the actual video that I got the vest from. So I followed her tutorial pretty accurately. I only made a couple changes. Number one is I just didn't do additional colors. This was almost an entire skein of the ombre, and that was plenty. Now, like I said, I am really more of a size extra large, and this is a little snug on me. But again, this is going to someone else who is smaller than me. So I wasn't trying to make it fit my dimensions. And to be honest, it might pull down. Like if I were to leave it on a hanger, it might pull down a little bit more. I mean, that is something to take into consideration, whether or not the yarn is stretchy or not. But this isn't particularly stretchy, but I just don't know with the weight of it. So that was something I did different. And then I used an 8mm hook to do mine. And you can see I was trying to make it like a little bit bigger. And you can see it did lead to a very nice kind of lacy look, even though this is not a yarn you would think of traditionally as having a lacy effect. So really the only other change that I did to her pattern is I only did the picot trim on the bottom of the project. I did not bring it up. She brought hers all the way up the sides and then up the back of the neck, which I did not do, mostly because I knew that I was running a little bit short on yarn without having to open up a second skein of it. And I did go ahead and also do a little bit more reinforcing on this one, because where the sides come together, to me it felt a tiny bit flimsy. So I went ahead and added another row of single crochet, and then when I did my ends, I wove them in several times right here in this shoulder area. So I mean, you can see it is a little bit thicker there than the rest of it, which, you know, aesthetically, you know, maybe you don't want to see that, but I really don't think you will, since it'll be sitting up on the shoulders. And I thought it was worth it for the reinforcement.
Oh man, I love a good pair of clogs. And I think this vest would be a great kind of 70s throwback look. And here I've got it with some clogs. And this is actually a picture of a turtleneck bodysuit. But you could definitely just wear a nice turtleneck as well with some wide leg jeans and some sunglasses to pull off a great 70s look. This next one would be just something to throw on over your workout clothes as you're headed to the gym, to a yoga class, just to give you a little more coverage, like cover up your butt a little bit if you don't want that showing until you get into your class. So just a really great fun idea to throw that with. And the last one I am calling Western Glam, and this might be my favorite. I absolutely love the peasant blouse and the jean skirt and the squash blossom necklace. I think all pair together, and really it dresses up this piece quite a bit and makes it a lot more versatile. I'm kind of surprised I loved all the Western outfits.
And if you have been around a little bit, you will probably have heard me say some of my projects are going to be entered in my county fair. And I believe I will be entering the mandala vest for certain in that. So I will keep you posted as the summer rolls around and what happens with that, if I place it or not. We'll see. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you would consider subscribing. I'll put a little button right over here that you can push if you would like to subscribe. And I will also put a playlist up here of my Super Saver videos, because they continue to be the most popular on my channel. Thank you for sitting and talking yarn with me today.